reminder set for every day at 7:05 saying it's go time.
Okay. Okay.
And so at 7:05, if I haven't stood up at 7 o'clock, at 7:05, it's go time. Girl, that thing tells me that, and it's always like, okay, just 2 more minutes. So this morning, I was still like trying to get that sentence straight at 7:14. I was just like, okay, so now 7:14, rushing to jump in the shower, and it just, so that's why I'm always like, I need to. I don't know what I need to do, because my meditation, I don't necessarily set a timer on my meditation. So sometimes my meditation bleeds over into the time I'm supposed to be writing. And so I don't always get an hour to write.
Okay.
So just steady. I keep saying to myself, just be gentle, be gentle, be gentle.
Yeah.
Be gentle. So good morning. I got into the sauna last night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, can you tell on my hair? It's like I go from flat to poof.
It still looks very nice.
Well, thank you. I had to run some heat through it this morning, because without oh my goodness, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
I am so thankful to, like I have this new woman doing my hair. And so I'm really thankful about that, because when I was trying to do it, it wasn't working. It was not working. So
my sister is like, she goes to the shop. She's faithful. And my niece is she's doing locks now, because she's just over the shop thing. But she and her mother, they didn't touch their hair. It was just so beautiful too. So, I mean, that is one of the benefits of going to a professional stylist, is that they keep care of your hair. They know how to do that. There's no argument there.
Yeah. It used to be that I would be, I don't know if I would just, how it's like when you think about what you would rather budget for. So
I think it's budgeting time. That's why I don't go to the shop.
Well, yeah, it used to be, but this particular place that I'm going now, I don't feel that, because I used to go into places and just like the guy in the book says, I would feel my chest tightening. I would feel my whole and I used to say to myself that you should not have to pay to go someplace and be upset or
right.
or feel like you're not respected, all of this stuff. You shouldn't go places and pay people to make you feel crappy. And when you go to, it's called a beauty shop for a reason. You should come out feeling beautiful and light and like, oh, if the world could see me now, instead of like just coming out like, oh, I need a drink. So I like this woman much better. And I don't feel like, I have gone to salons and people who want to do 2 and 3 heads at a time.
Yeah, that's the stuff I can't.
Oh my God.
When I would go to the shop, I would make 6 o'clock in the morning appointments. I want to go first, because I don't want to wait for anyone. And I don't want to, if I'm going to talk with my stylist, and she happened to be a very, very dear friend of mine's. And but I would make my appointment at 6 o'clock. And sometimes we would go work out first and then come back and then she'd do my hair. But yeah, the time thing, just sitting there waiting, like, with a bag on my head when you really could rinse this stuff out and keep it moving. Like, You just got me trapped. I'm trapped here.
Exactly. Girl, that's why I tell people I have walked out with my head wet because I'm like saying,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But
So I'm
yes.
glad you brought that up though, about the tenseness and the apprehension that people go through, because we talked about that yesterday. And I was reminded of a client that he was in his late 50s or maybe just turned 50, and he would always have these dreams about a changing table. Just a changing table would always be in his dreams. And one Easter he went to visit with his mother, and they didn't have a close relationship. It was contentious. She was kind of one of a narcissistic mom. They didn't have a good relationship anyway, so the visit was definitely dutiful, out of duty, and he just happened to mention about these changing table dreams, and just telling you. And he learned that day that his mother would set him on the changing table to change him. And I don't know if this was repeatedly, so I don't want to exaggerate it, but a particular incident, she put him on the change table to change his diaper and walked away, and he fell off, and she got pissed. And this is what she said: "And I put your ass back up there and said, stay here." And she walked off, and he fell off again. And he sobbed so hard. Because I just said, let's go back there. Let's go back there. And it just opened up so much revelation. I mean, I'm sure that's one of many horrific things that happened, because obviously his mother has some challenges. And if he didn't know it before, he knew it after that conversation. That something was, that she was very not okay. She was very manipulative from his description anyway. But this experience just helped him to understand why he was so recoiled with this mom, and why he could not get close and come to reason, or even just like have compassion for her without first knowing some other information. Like because he kept wanting to have compassion for her. You just kind of like, okay, I see my mom being dutiful in certain areas, but then she can be so curt and sharp, and what's that? And then and so I shared that to share that there are things that are in our bodies that remember that you are not safe.
Right. But you know what? So here's the thing about that is that I have no doubt that his mother probably told him that, still thinking that she was right.
She did. She did.
I used to have some tenants, and the mother, the grown daughter was living with the mother. And she was on having her second child, or, the second child had just been born. And I can remember being stressed out all the time because I would hear the baby screaming bloody murder. And then you could hear, like, I could hear movement, and then the grandmother of the baby, don't pick that baby up. That baby don't want nothing. And if you start picking, I'm not going to be sitting around here holding no spoiled ass baby. I mean, this was a daily argument while I am up here listening to all of that, just being totally stressed, because there is a part of me, even though I'm not, I haven't had babies, when a baby cries, there's something in me
You
that
know, you
responds.
know. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It would break my heart to have to listen to that. And they thought that they were doing right.
Mm-hmm.
They thought that they were doing right. Um, I mean, and then the other kids would cry because the one kid was crying.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is up there crying because the grandmother is saying, "Don't pick that baby up." And you know, it's sad that that's the way that many people have been taught
Mm-hmm.
child rearing.
Mm-hmm.
That that old adage, children are supposed to be seen and not heard.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or just the notion that you can spoil a child is just ludicrous.
mm,
You gonna love that baby too much. What the devil?
I, I
But
don't.
I mean, it's a thing, and consequently, people are holding things in their body. That little baby is developing dis-ease by not being attuned to right from the rip
Mm-hmm,
in
mm-hmm,
his body. Isn't that amazing?
mm-hmm. And so as a community, we have those issues, right? We've got those issues about, you know, whether it's the whole thing about what happens in those formative, that initial intro into the world. um we've got issues about, closeness or a lack thereof, not being able to tend to our kids for whatever reason. We've got issues around breastfeeding. I mean, there's so many issues. And then to me sitting up here in my 50s talking about this whole thing with Black women and our hair. I mean, from the sitting there crying because our mothers are doing our hair, or somehow been thinking that, pickaninnies because of our hair, or
Right.
whatever it is, because of our hair. We have been through so much. And that stuff still lives in us. And
Yes.
until we can release all of that, there's a part of us that needs to first off acknowledge the pain that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Terry. We need to
Good
acknowledge
morning.
the pain that's there. That's
Yeah.
that's part of the first step.
We got to call a thing a thing.
Yeah. It's
Mm-hmm.
just
Call a thing a thing, or just, is it possible? Is it possible? Is it possible? And then you do the rest. Like, is it possible? Is it possible that this is a thing? Is it possible that I'm angry? Is it possible that this problem could be me?
mm-hmm.
Is it possible? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, woosah. Woosah. So
Yeah. So that came to me when we got off of the line yesterday, and I was just like, oh, yeah. I was thanking Spirit for bringing that experience back to me. Like, yeah, people walk around like this,
yeah,
rigid and tight and just bound up.
yeah. And as some people say, they, wearing your shoulders for your earrings, because it's so tight, just
Mhm.
can't loosen up and can't have an inability to trust that, that the world is safe, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
That, yeah, that all of this is for your good, and many people have not had that experience, so that still becomes a challenge.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, we're all challenged because, you know, I like I started off this thing saying, I am still working through this, you know, I have the awareness to be thankful for the woman that's doing my hair now, because I have had so much stress and trauma around that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it, you know, there's a part of you, I tell you something that I learned in, you know, we learn this in circles that we go into. You go into, my dad was in a lot of, you know, hospitals and LTACs and all of this other stuff. And if you say something like, "Oh, it's quiet today," the nurses all jump like, "Don't say anything." Don't say that. Because they say the moment you bring it up or the moment you say something, then all
bells start going off.
Right?
Yes.
So people are like, don't give voice to what's going on, because if you speak to it, then the opposite is going to show up. That's the notion.
Energy, yeah.
And for me, I want to, you know, what you praise, you raise, you
That's
know,
good.
from my perspective. And so I give thanks.
That's good.
Here. I give thanks for the woman doing my hair. I give thanks for the food and my fishmonger and my dog. And I've given thanks for stuff because for me, I want to raise it. And if it disappears, I want to be able to, like that wave, I want to be able to say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I've had that experience. And I think that there is something good about having an experience at least once so that you know that it is a possibility to aspire to.
What do you mean?
So like, can you imagine, y'all excuse me, it's Friday morning and it's me, right? It's me. But can you imagine what it's like to have never had an orgasm when you're having sex? So if you've never had an experience where it's good, you don't even know that that is a thing, that is a thing to aspire to. You just kind of like thinking like, oh, I got to do this, you know, like I gotta break them off a piece, or I gotta, you know, so you don't have a you know, something to compare it to. But it's kind of like I made swordfish for somebody, and they were telling me, "Oh, I don't like swordfish. I don't like swordfish." And I made this swordfish, and and he was looking like, "Is this swordfish?" It's like, "Yeah, swordfish." He was like, "What have I been eating?" You've been eating overcooked, frozen stuff that's not fresh, that's not cooked right. That's what you've been eating. And
or the difference between a regular prime rib and a Kobe steak, like that, there's a different flavor. There's a different experience.
Yeah, I don't eat that stuff.
Oh yeah, you don't eat that. So you don't know what you're missing. Like it's like not having an orgasm.
Well, I used to eat steak. And I liked it. I'll say medium. I didn't like rare.
Yeah.
I like it medium. And yeah, so but I don't eat that stuff anymore. So yeah, it's being seen versus being, you know, just being tolerated, I suppose. It's, you know, it's when, yeah, so you know that it gets better. You know that things get better when you've had better. But when you haven't, just even the little things just is like, ooh, you know, I got a guy who answers the phone when I call. You know, like that's the bare minimum. Instead of somebody.
But I think that that's the part of evolution, though. That's the part of the evolving. That's the transformation process, is that it, you know, the change, the improvement. And I think going back to where you started talking, is that it's gratitude that opens the door. It's
Yes.
the key. And
Yes.
then it's the gratitude, and then being like, oh my goodness, like I didn't know this exists. Oh my goodness, I didn't even know this was a thing. Oh my goodness. And it just gets, the oh my goodness becomes bigger and better, and the 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 facets of your life just, it just starts to look different. It just, but it does start with gratitude and being grateful for the little things.
But you got to also open yourself up to new experiences, because if you reject everything that comes your way, then you never get to the new experiences.
But would gratitude lead me to become more open? If you live a life that is grateful for the good and the bad.
So um so I am, for me, I try to be as open as possible to newness.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that musical chairs is what we played as kids.
Mm-hmm. Or like me, I come from a family or a mother, probably, I mean, she got it from somewhere too, but who is very fearful. She would never use that language. When I say that to her, she's like, I'm not fearful. So whatever, I leave her where she is. But
Uh-huh.
but everything is very cautious. Like, don't, be careful, play it safe, stay in your comfort zone. So that could be a form of resistance. And yet she does have gratitude, but maybe not gratitude for the good and the bad. Um, but yeah, that fear piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess I try to stay open, and I don't know, there would be a lot of people that might somehow think that there is something wrong with that ability to stay open. But if you never try new things, you never get new experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's one of those things too, where I mean, even like in the Catholic religion, they tell you not to go to different churches. It's a sin to go to a different church,
Jehovah Witness too.
yeah, outside of that. And so you never get the experience of, like, well, you go from one place to another place, and it's like, oh, where has this been all this time? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That ability to be open and to explore things that might work for you instead, or might work better. Yeah, it does take courage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it takes giving yourself permission.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And curiosity. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay to be curious. I know it's like, curiosity kills the cat. That used to be the slogan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but curiosity is, the, I think it's the start of awareness. To become curious,
Mm-hmm.
we start off as little people, curious about our bodies. So we touch our bodies, we touch other people's bodies. Curiosity is what we arrived with.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as we're learning in this beautiful book, that our family of origin, don't be curious, stay safe. We
Yeah.
don't do that. That's not nice. It's not your business. Stay
Uh,
over here. Don't go over there. Stay over here.
I tell you, it is. And some things we learn simply by watching how closed other people are as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I guess for me it is this, yeah, I want to, if it's that peach, I want to take a good bite out of that juicy peach, because it's there and I
Mm-hmm.
can. and I know life is short, and so I'm so grateful. I stand in a space of gratitude, and and knowing that the best is still yet to come. I mean, I'm not thinking that it's, that it's not for me, or that, it's, that it's other people, but the best is yet to come. And so what does that mean for, I was listening to this lady, and she was like, sometimes you just got to court yourself. Like, who wants to be with somebody that's not alive and feeling, they're not, who?
There is somebody for everybody.
Yes, girl. There are some people that don't want you to feel all of that. And
there is somebody for everyone if you want to be in a space.
This guy, his name was Dennis, right? I dated this guy, Dennis, and as a matter of fact, he wanted to get married. It was like, he was, we were heading in that direction, until one day he got so comfortable with me that he went out and rebought some clothes I had just bought in a larger size. Told me he went in there and he thinks I wore my clothes too tight, and so he bought something in a larger size. And I was like, dude, that was one of them things, like, okay, beat it, boy. Beat it, get out, right? That was where I drew the line. One time we were driving down the highway, and we're driving, and it's, kind of like rush hour or whatever. And we were next to, because we weren't going fast, but we were next to a truck, one of those 18-wheeler trucks. And he takes something off of the back seat and throws it over my lap. And I thought, and he didn't tell me that the guy in the truck could see my legs.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure you saw signs before he bought the clothes, but you didn't know what they were.
Not the clothes were after this, right? The
I know.
Were, was when he had really he thought he was really comfortable with me. He bought me some larger size clothes. Girl, I was like, dude, you got to go. You got to go, because you got issues. And so, but can you imagine, though, if it was like that, just still in the courting stage? I'll call it courting. That's what they used to call it. If it was like that still in the courting stage, it was only going to get worse, progressively worse, if I then said I do to him, because then I would be his property and he would be able to dictate, He used to throw stuff over me all the time. Like I was he's looking
at baby. I'm going to protect you. But there is someone on this planet that needs a Dennis. He just needs to keep looking, and they need to come together and find each other and do their work, whatever work that is for them to do. Whatever it is for them to do.
I was not having it. I was, and it took me some time, because there was a lot about him that that was good and wonderful. But then when he was like, I was like, dude, you got to go.
And that's the part where I said yesterday about we come together in connections to heal. But everybody has to be a willing participant in the healing. So if you experience that, you say, that's not going to work for me, you need to do something different. And then that person continues on, then it's like, yeah, I'm probably not a good match for your healing journey, because I don't want to do this. I don't want to have, there's so many experiences today after my journey that I'm not having with the counterpart. Like there's a lot of experiences that I'm not willing to have anymore, because I'm like, yeah, I got that. I'm good. Find another teacher, and I'm not the student for this.
Yeah, girl, that to me was crazy. Everett says, outstanding Friday morning to you ladies. Let this day bring sunshine to your life. Yeah,
Thank
Everett,
you, Everett.
yeah, Everett, thank you. And you know, we are the sunshine there.
Ta-da!
Happy Friday,
Happy
Winnie.
Friday. Hi, Winnie. Good morning.
Oh, yay. Yes. So it is this I think it is about learning how to celebrate what is, oh, it's no bad. Hey Ruth, good morning. It is about learning how to celebrate you know what what resonates with us. So whether it is even the discovery that it was the changing table,
Mm-hmm.
is like, wow, I'm so glad that I had an opportunity to unlock that piece of my own puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so that
Because a lot, just like with Mark, we take ownership. We take ownership for our hurt. We say it's me. In the book, he says he had a heart of steel and he had a steel approach with his mom, not realizing that there were things that took place before he was even able to speak a language. You
yes.
know, he wasn't even able to speak, and he had been consumed with so much rejection. So yeah, so therefore rejection played a huge role on his journey, and that changing table experience just spoke volumes to trust issues and being able to connect, possibly the deep depression that person showed up with. That's big. You know,
Mhm.
can you imagine maybe 6 months old trying to figure out now how to, because I have a philosophy that all children come here to please their parents. No child wakes up and says, I'm going to piss them off. It's like
Mhm.
they want to please. They're eager to please. We come onto this planet eager to please and satisfy. And so now you got a 6 month old. I'm being presumptuous about the age. But you have now a 6 month old that is trying to figure out how not to be 6 months old. Like, how do I stay on this? I don't even know if you have to be able to conceive what it means to stay on this table. But,
Right.
now the brain now is trying to figure out, how do I keep myself safe from this person? This is how schizophrenia gets started too. From this person who is my protector and my abuser.
Mm.
It's just so.
Yeah, it's terrible. So and before we get off of this thing, because I remember when my family moved into a new house, and there was this woman who lived next door, and I used to talk about her all the time because she was always single, and for me it was, I used to think that was somehow really wonderful and really glamorous, all of that stuff.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is the same woman who told me I needed to put some lycra on my hips because I had too much movement in my butt. So I was like looking at her, and she was like, every woman needs a good girdle. I was like, first off, I'm not a woman, and I'm not gonna put on no darn girdle. What is that? I was just like thinking to myself, no, because I mean, that wasn't the way. But this woman wore a girdle every day that I had ever known her, always in a girdle, right? Um, anyway, that was one thing. I was just always thinking to myself, like, you, that's, to me, that's anyway. But I remember her having she didn't have any children of her own, but she had one that was it wasn't her granddaughter, but it was like her goddaughter almost, it was, she lived with them, but it was like, because her mother lived with her, blah, 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 whatever. But this little girl got a whooping. I was standing there in the kitchen, and I'm watching this little girl who couldn't have been any more than 5 or 6 get a whooping. And I couldn't understand why she was getting a whooping, right? And
Mhm.
so I was like, I'm looking at her like, well, what did she do? She says, I told her not to be standing around with her legs open like that. And I was thinking, is that a whooping? Like, okay, I need to go home, because if you giving people whoopings for having their legs open, we got a problem, you know? But I was seeing this as a kid, and I was thinking to myself, something is wrong with that. Something's wrong with the idea that everything needs to be about this, restraint.
Tight, secure.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there was a part of me that was enamored with her and the lifestyle, but at the same time, on the flip side, it was like, wow, what must you have gone through?
Yeah, to have that level of rigidity. Mhm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. Mhm.
so all of this, and there's a part of me that recognizes that we need to make peace with our parents because they've done the best that they could with the light that they had to see by.
That's it.
And we don't always know their experience, their life experience that gave them the perception that,
This was right.
yes.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
and a lot of times they are, as we are, trying to heal from their own experiences the best that they can as well. A lot of cultures um, allow grandma to take care of babies because the young people are still trying to heal and learn from the parents that brought them up into this experience called life, and they don't have the wisdom to be effective parents or patient parents. But my grandson is Russian, or black, of course, according to science, he's African American, but his mother is Russian, and I'm so grateful because her mother and father and me and Rob, we pretty much took over from 0 to 5. Like it was our kid. But then Babushka, which is his great grandmother, was there mo- primary for the daytime all the time, and then we were for the weekend. But he was so blessed to have us because his parents were 20 and 21, 19 and 20 or something like that, and they had life, work, school. And so we were there to bring a place of solidarity for him, some simpleness and some affirmation and not that agitation. If my kids had that level of hookup, would be so different. But we don't have that. Once we become parents, it's like, oh, you're a parent now, and now you're on your own and you got to do it. And there's nothing wrong with it, but we bring our stuff in our parenting, and our children pay the consequences of that. So while I'm still trying to parent, I'm still trying to heal from my parenting, still trying to get over my journey that I have experienced. And if I haven't faced that or done the work, then my parents get, that's where that epigenetics can definitely come in. It's because I'm still doing my work while I'm trying to, raise these little
what
kings
I
and
what I hear you saying though is what a lot of people, the trauma of being disconnected from your primary relationship, your mother, for a grandparent. I mean, that to some people would be a traumatic separation.
yeah, well, I don't. Well, we all lived together. Like they lived with the pug, so his home was with her parents, that family. My son and his wife lived with her family, but
Mm.
we did a lot of the work. We did the work. Like he had a grandmother, a great grandmother, a grandfather. He had people that were wiser than his young parents to care for him and to see after him and to attune to him. I'm not saying that my son and daughter-in-law weren't there with their son, but I'm saying that the level of wisdom that was there to nurture my grandson was amazing. And my cousin is married to a Chinese man, and So her in-laws have a great influence in their life. They're all, when those children were little, they were always there in the house. They were always involved in that life. They were there for those parents. Like it was just a part of what they did. They were there to let off the pressure. My cousin could take naps. She could go out and go shopping, and grandmama would pick them up and do what she needed to do what she did as a culture for those kids. And it is, I'm watching and seeing the difference in having that involvement, not the kind that where we send the kids down south for the summer, or I send the kids to, they deal with my wrath and then I send them over to grandma's house. I'm not speaking of that type of connection. I'm talking about like being involved and having some input into the life of a child, to even help a mom. If that young man's grandma had been there, the grandma might have said to the mother, why you keep putting that baby up on the changing table? What is that?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So real quick, we are at the bottom of page 7. And, Michael is talking to, we were talking about yesterday, Michael's feelings about Mark. Is it Mark? Yeah. Why did I keep saying Michael? It didn't start with you by Mark Wolin. You're right. Okay, so I keep calling him Michael. I think I wrote that in my journal about this guy and called him Michael. I don't know why. But so he's there with his mother. He's working on doing this healing work, and so he is trying to understand, all of this tightness that he feels and everything like that. And so he was talking about how he then started having these conversations with his mother. We already talked about the hug that where he asked her not to let him go and wanted to go through the feelings of that till he got to that point of release. And so then he started having many conversations with her about a lot of stuff. And then he says an event occurred when he was small. He said his mom was hospitalized for 3 weeks for a gallbladder surgery. And he says with that insight, there was something that he hadn't recognized or hadn't realized before. With that insight, he began piecing together what was going on inside of him, he says. Somewhere before the age of 2, this is critical years, that's when my mother and I were separated, and the unconscious tightening had taken root inside of his body. When she returned home, he had stopped trusting her in her care, right? He had stopped trusting her. And so he says he was no longer vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Instead, I pushed her away and would continue to do so for the next 30 years. So what may seem like just something like a momentary absence to somebody, he could have been pre-verbal or whatever the case may be, but that absence caused him to change, to make a shift. And I do believe in here, he said, he says another early event contributed to the fear he carried in his life, that his life would be suddenly ruined. He says his mother told him that she experienced a difficult labor while giving birth to him, one of which the doctors had to use forceps. Those things that they put in there and grab you by your head and pull you out of the womb. And as a result, he was born with extensive bruising and a collapsed skull. And so not uncommon, he says it was not uncommon. We know, we've seen those things. We've talked about those things. And so he was just talking about all of the trauma that he has experienced. And so the traumatic memories from his birth were submerged in his body as well, and they resurfaced. And so whenever he gave birth to a new project,
But
or
you skipped a really important part, Sandra. Back up.
Go
That part where his mother explained to him that she could not look at him.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
After
Okay.
that, after he was born like that, that she had a difficult time embracing him.
Okay. Yeah, it does say that. I'm sorry. It says his mother revealed with the regret that his appearance made it difficult for her to even hold him at first. Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's
That's
another
big.
disconnect
Mm-hmm.
there, right? So here's and most people have this notion that babies don't remember this stuff. But if you can feel that rejection in your body, like where is this? I've been inside of this woman for all this time and now she's rejecting me.
Says I'm ruined.
Yeah,
I'm ruined. Mm.
yes. And so he says her story resonated and helped to explain the feelings of being ruined, and that he knew was deep inside of him. Specifically, traumatic memories from his birth had submerged in his body and would resurface whenever he gave birth to a new project or presented a new work in public. Just having this understanding, he says, brought him peace, because now he understood where it came from. We have feelings, we have ideas and thoughts, and have absolutely no idea where they come from.
Yes.
And when we begin to piece the puzzle together and then get a better look at it, we can then say, we can have that aha moment. Oh,
And this is the work to do.
yeah. Wow. Right.
Yes.
And so, I for each and every one of us, it is having those moments of where we look at the things that, I don't know if I want to say that they're because we just don't know where they come from, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like for me, there was, I will tell y'all the honest to God truth. I'm always telling y'all my truth. I used to think that, you know how they talk about 4-letter words, 4-letter words, and we usually talk about 4-letter words as bad words. Well, one of the worst 4-letter words for me was wife. WIFE. To me, that sounded like a 4-letter word that I was just like, ooh, don't be, don't call me that. Because
Mm-hmm.
for me, the way that I saw it, and I don't know that this was, my mother was really interesting in that, she was an only child and she wanted to have a bunch of kids. I mean, she was like one of the people who said, I'm gonna have 10 kids and I want 10 pretty kids, right? She didn't want to know. She was like, she was gonna have her 10 pretty kids. And so she said she married the prettiest man that she could find. And so it wasn't so much that she didn't enjoy being a mother. So it's not like I'm necessarily getting that idea from her. But I do believe that somewhere in my psyche, I saw wife as synonymous with slave or servant or, worker, or, I mean, that lived in me. It still lives in me, right? And so I always wonder why people, why she gotta be that? that was my thing. Why she gotta be that? I don't know where that comes from. I don't know that I have I don't know that was any message that was communicated from my mother anyway.
Well, so remember that if we, the that remember our fear language, always going back to the fear language, paying attention to our fear language that resonates inside of us. And then for me, I think I told you at the beginning of the year, what Spirit revealed to me is that I am no longer going to try my best to no longer look for my answer in what I declare is like the obvious. So the answer for that question may not be in mom. It may not be, it may not be from that experience. It could be from your father. It could be from wherever. But our fear language is the first indicator of what the heck, like what is that? Where did that come from? What is my fear language? And then explore the fears.
So I know that it did not. So for me, I know that it did not come from my mother, right? I'm clear on that because she didn't have that. But I will say that after my mother was gone, she must have had passed, and I remember my dad was getting his, he had the kitchen gutted and all new cabinetry and all of this new stuff put in. And it was interesting because there was, he had somebody coming over to do some work. And, my dad did a whole lot of stuff after my mother passed. He did stuff that she wanted him to do when she was, they had talked about getting the kitchen redone. So it was almost like, okay, she really wanted to have this done. And so some of the stuff that he was going back and doing stuff as if, I don't know what he was thinking that was going to do after the fact. But anyway, he got this, all of this new stuff, the stainless steel and all of the stuff that was the rage, right, when he was having it done. And there was a guy that came over there, and I don't know why I was there in the house at the time, but when the guy comes in, maybe he was coming in to put in windows. I don't know what it was, but the guy comes in and he looks around the kitchen and he was like, wow, he was like, you got everything. And he started, talking about, like all the bells and whistles, and you did this and you did. He was like, man, you did everything. And my father was like, almost. And the guy was like, he says, I don't see what's missing. And my father says, a wife to keep it clean and to cook the food. And I was like, what? What? It was just like, and of course, what I said to myself is like, you ain't gonna change nobody because you mad about or pissed about this, right? I was like, that. So that's one of those things where you take a deep breath and it's like, okay, I gotta go, right? But I got all of these, like, I got mixed messages about the role of women, especially through my dad. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget one time, because I thought I was pretty smart and pretty intelligent, and I said something to him about my younger brothers. My younger brothers both went to private school. They were in private school, and I was still in school, and I was like, well, I said something about it. Like, well, how is it that they get to go to private school? How is it that I was always asking the questions about, this gender question. How is it that they get? And then he said to me, he was like, I'm sending them to school to learn. And I said, well, what do you think I'm going to school for? Because I argue with everybody. What do you think I'm going to school for? And he says, hopefully to find a husband.
Oh, yummy. That's good.
Oh my God. You say that's good. And I was like,
yeah.
And so when I talk about
ta-da, you don't even have to question that anymore.
The wrestling match between me and my dad was all of that, right? And so yes, I had to do my own reconciliation work with this man.
Hmm.
But this was the world that he was brought up in.
Hmm. Yeah.
It, it,
That was his love language.
this was the world he was brought up in. So
Wow. Well, there you go.
and I rejected that. I'm that child. I'm that child. Yes, Terry, I am that child. I am that adult. So
Interesting, right? I hear you. Language is powerful.
I hadn't thought about that particular thing in a while. Good morning, Greg. Terry says, I'm sorry. Oh, Terry, you know what? I got the perfect parents for me.
That's right? It, baby. That's it.
I got the ones for me. And that it helped me to show up differently in the world, whatever that may mean. It is what it is, right? It's, you know.
And you came to teach as well. Like it's a reciprocal experience, parent child, if we allow it. You know, they all come to teach us something if we are aware that that's what they're here to do. But when we think that our kids are here so that we can duplicate them and mold them and make them like me or make them better than me, first of all, because you got that self-loathing judgment, you create toxicity in your home. But, you know, the dance is to learn. So yeah, like, and hopefully and prayerfully your dad got some good yummy stuff from you. I'm sure he did. If he could come back and write a book about his daughter saying,
girl, but you know what?
You could write a book on, use his language and write the book that your father would write about y'all's experience. That would be fun.
That's interesting, right? Oh, I should write down that from my dad's perspective.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when, you know, I used to always say that my dad was such a big man, right? He's such a huge presence. I mean, he is the kind of guy who could walk in a room and people quake from his presence. I mean, but you know, so my brother Kevin is just like my dad. I mean, he's a manly man. He was that kind of guy. And my father was one of those who I didn't really understand. Like he would, you know, he was always that person that was like the, you know, antagonist person, always saying stuff that would get under your skin or bother you or whatever. He knew how to get you. And there was one day when me and my dad were in this car and we were having an argument. We was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth at each other. And I'm just, you know, every time he get one off on me, I got one off on him. We just arguing. It wasn't like I would never be disrespectful, but I'm not one that was going to acquiesce just because he was, you know, which most of my siblings did. Everybody else was like, you know, going off in the corner and licking their wounds or whatever. But I was always one to spar with them. And one day I caught him. I got, you know, because of course I was a philosophy major. I was learning how to debate. I was learning how to break apart an argument and all this stuff. And one day I got him. And when I was thinking that he should have been mad or embarrassed, he smiled. I caught him smiling. He actually turned away and I saw in the rear view mirror, I saw that man smile. And I thought to myself like, oh, this is what he wants, right? This is what he wants. Somebody that intellectually is going to challenge him. And before, I didn't understand that.
How old were you?
Oh, I had to be in my 30s by then, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was, because I was living here. I think yeah, so I think I was in my 30s by then.
Okay.
But yes,
Mm-hmm.
it was just, but it was such an epiphany moment for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, okay.
That's
Um,
good.
yes, at least he did not force you into being archaic, is what Terry says.
Mm-hmm.
It it
He died trying. He loved his daughter. He needed to partner up. That was his mission. That was his mission in life.
yeah. Yeah, I am definitely, and this Terry, the way that I am, I think it was a hard fought battle to stand on my own 2 feet and be the person that I am,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think that was the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was the plan. So whatever. And there will still be people who will be caught in there. There will be people who love me for it, and people who will be sitting up there saying, "Ooh, like, like they, like something else should have happened." But that ain't my business. What you think of me ain't my business.
And
So
that
I
is the
just,
truth.
yeah. Good morning, Erica.
Good morning, Erica. You just getting in here.
She said she just sliding by.
Oh, okay. Well, have an amazing weekend.
Yes.
I am going to be heading off of here. This was really good. I hope if anybody didn't listen to it from the beginning that you get to listen to this, because this was really good. This
Yeah.
is good stuff.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Um,
for space.
so on Monday, you guys, if you are in,
Oh, yes.
yes, Monday is Martin Luther King Day, and a lot of people are off work. And so what Stephanie and I are doing is we're opening it up. So if you want to sit in the Zoom room with us, just let me know. I'll send you a link, and you can sit in the Zoom room and we all talk on Monday. But we start at 8 o'clock on Monday. We'll go from
Yes.
10, and we'll see how that goes. Bring your cup of coffee and
Yes.
comb your hair and
Or not. No judgment here.
oh yeah,
Not at all.
you don't
Or
comb
not.
your hair either. Yeah. Yeah, so okay, so she Erica says she got to go to the plantation. So but yeah, so if you are interested in coming on, I can send you a Zoom link so that you can be on with us on Monday from 8 to 10, and I think that will be good. Okay, great, Sarika. I'll see you on Monday. All right, y'all. We are out of here.
Yes. Have an amazing weekend. Thanks, Sandra. Appreciate you.
Thank you. All right. All right. See you. All right. Yeah. So I will probably be here by myself tomorrow, 7:30ish, if you want to drop on by. And whatever the case may be, we will see you all on Monday at 8. I'll put a reminder out there. I hope to say that it's 8 o'clock on Monday from 8 to 10. We will all be here in the room together if you so choose, and bring your coffee, and we'll have us a great time. All right. Love you. I'll see you then. Bye. And make sure just to send me a request. All right. Blessings to you. Fabulous Friday. All right. Yeah. See ya. Bye.